in the time. So I was just going back.
20 minutes.
4 minutes.
When you're ready.
Yeah, give me just a second. So since I didn't stop the time, I guess. 12.
Yeah, I think at the end of it, my dad's husky.
Started
She
at
likes to wait
6:25.
stuff.
I guess you can wait.
As long as I wrote down the correct
White
time.
laptop.
Okay, ready when you are.
All right. Once again, Kevin Trice. I'm going to be talking a little thing about psychodynamics. Okay. Anybody hasn't taken my psychology yet? College? Anybody? Just two? Everybody else?
If you have, I'll ask them.
You take it? Okay. So, well, if you haven't, then psychodynamics, you're going to learn about it. If you have, just be a refresher course. However, the reason why I picked it is because it's relevant to everybody's curriculum, not to mention outside of work. So whether you're dealing with customers, clients, employees, or family and friends, it's going to be relevant. So that's why I picked it. This is the textbook definition, pretty much, which is gaining a perspective, a pure insight in order to recognize the character traits, actions, responses, and behaviors that will be transformed in a person. Everybody get that? Okay. In layman's terms, basically that's just what makes a person tick. Why does a person do what they do? Okay. You know this, you understand this, it's a lot better to deal with somebody. Kind of like with Catherine, right? Okay. Piggyback on what she said. You know, somebody might be having a bad day or everything and they kind of go off on you completely unprovoked. You don't want to just assume, take that personally, like, oh, you know, this person's all up on me. Just kind of, it could be, you know, somebody passed away in their family, they might just have a bad week, meteor fell on their house, whatever it may be. So you don't want to take it with a grain of salt when you're dealing with people. Regardless of upbringing, whether you're rich, poor, doesn't matter, everybody in between, everybody's still going to display the same emotions. You're going to be angry, upset, aggression, sadness, fears. So it's not a cookie cutter every time you're dealing with somebody. It's going to be different. You're going to have to adjust fire as you go. But if you understand why people do the things they do, once again, it'll be a lot easier to deal with. And this applies to everybody. One thing you don't want to do is assume. Assumptions. These are killers. So if somebody's, now I'm coming from like a law enforcement perspective, but whether you're doing nursing and you're dealing with patients, or vet tech, you're dealing with pet owners, you don't want to assume and just say if somebody's going through a rough time, you definitely don't want to say, I know what you mean. I feel you. I've been there. Say, for example, you know, you have kids? Okay. Say you lost your job. And you lost your job. You have 3 kids, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Might not be as devastating to her, because she's just like, well, I lost my job, and I have to find another one. You, on the other hand, may say, this is a catastrophic big deal. You got kids to feed, bills to pay, serious stuff. So you may not go to her and, you know, I lost my job too. Don't worry about it. It's no big deal. You know, you say that. She's not going to take very kindly to that. It's going to be detrimental to her. So just make sure that just because, you know, it's not that serious to you, don't downplay it for others. With that, assuming you don't want to misconstrue what somebody says. This happens all the time. Anybody sends a text message to somebody and they completely misread what it is you said. They either get mad or they answer the wrong question. You're like, I didn't ask that. Well, with me, an example would be when I was married, my wife, she sent me a text message when I was at work. Just something simple like, hey, I'm cooking pork chops tonight. Does that sound good? I'm like, okay. That's how it sounded. That's what I took back. Okay. I like pork chops. You know that? I was looking forward to it. What she heard was, okay. Next thing I know, I'm getting text back like, what do you mean, okay? I thought you liked pork chops. I can't do anything right. So then now we're in this big blowout fight over something that was misconstrued completely wrong. So once again, if you need some clarification before you lay into somebody, say, you know, are you trying to make me mad? Oh, no, sorry, I was just trying to, get clarification, so you can mitigate a lot of heartache and pain. Very important. Don't downplay somebody's emotions. Fell victim to this many times, whether it's your marriage or just somebody in person. Don't downplay it. Who are my vet tech people in there? I'll do. Okay. These two. Do you guys even work on like reptiles? You know? Okay. So say if somebody comes in, I'm gonna just get on vet tech for a second. Somebody brings in a reptile like a snake. And you're like, my snake is dying. You're like, okay, well let me see what's going on. You take it back, it ends up dying. Then you come out there and you're like, oh yeah, by the way, your snake died. And they fall to their knees and, you know, they got their hands to their head and they're just crying like, oh, whoa, why me? And you're like, well, listen, come in, it is not that serious. They got a pet shop just down the road. They sell all sorts of snakes. You can get one for free out there. Just because you don't think, you know, it's not something cuddly and furry, and you don't like snakes or reptiles, it's serious to them. So once again, I'm just kind of piggyback on what I said earlier. Don't downplay somebody's emotions. I made the mistake of doing this several times, but the one that sticks out the most really is when I was on patrol one time, I pulled this lady over for a traffic violation. Something simple. I made contact with her. I could tell she was upset. She wasn't giving me a real hard time or getting angry, but she was definitely in distress. I was doing everything professional, maintaining good contact, and then at the very end, I issued her a citation. She's like, I just don't understand what's going on. And I said, ma'am, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You just pay the collateral fine. You're on your way. And that's when she lost it because she had never gotten a ticket before. This was her first one. So she went off and she's like, it is a big deal. And this. And I was like, whoops. You know, just put the foot right in my mouth. So from then on, I'm just assuming that, you know, everybody's gotten tickets. You know, I've gotten pulled over a few times. I mean, I haven't gone overboard, but I've done my share of tickets, whether it's speeding or parking. So no big deal. You get pulled over. Was a big deal to her. So now I make sure I'm more tactful about it. Same reason why we're not supposed to say, you know, once we give somebody a ticket, say, all right, do you have any questions? All right, have a good day. That can be construed as sarcastic, so we're not supposed to say that. After we say, do you have any questions? All right, drive safe. What we're supposed to do. So, we call it verbal judo in law enforcement to try to de-escalate situations, because when we go over, when we meet people, they're usually at their worst. People don't call 911 to say, can you send the police over? Like to invite them in for coffee. Don't want to use absolute words. Absolute words, never, always, forever. When people are in distress and having real stressful situations, they feel like they don't have any options. You ever, you know, your house burns down. What do I do? You lose your job. What do I, you know, just at the moment, you're just really confused and things are catastrophic. Even if somebody doesn't have options, you want to make it sound like they have options. For example, if you tell somebody, you need to do this. Well, some people really don't like being told what to do. I need to do this. So you just tweak it a little bit and say, you might want to do this. Sounds a little bit better. It makes it sound like you have a choice. So somebody that says, you know, listen, you have to do it. You have to do it. You're like, well, if I were you, you know, I would probably do it. It would be a good idea to do it. Another example would be if you say you're not going to win. Somebody says, I'm going to sue the crap out of them. I'm getting a lawyer and attorney, and you know they're not going to win. You know, you have no case whatsoever. You just tell them something along the lines of, well, there are better ways to go about this, but it's up to you. That way they kind of, well, yeah, that's right, it is up to me. So yeah, they'll just go about whatever. They'll either drop the subject or they'll try to pursue it, so whatever their preference is. But basically you want to understand why people do things. You ever have somebody that talks to you about 2 inches from your face in your personal space, almost makes you back up a little bit? You're like, Sometimes it can be a culture thing. Say like, I know I've dealt with Russians and I've dealt with Arabic people, and they don't believe in personal space. They're right up there. They're being friendly to them. America, we're like, get out of my face. You know, give me 6 feet. Give me an arm's length at least. Another thing could be kind of like an alpha male dominance thing. Sometimes people do it just to throw their weight around and kind of make you cower a little bit to show their dominance. I had this LT at my she would do this. She would talk real close to me. Now, she's being friendly. She's not yelling at me. She's just talking to me. And I would kind of take this as a threat. I have a few pride issues I've been working on. So I take a step forward. I'm talking to her. So now we're almost nose to nose just talking here. But I'm not backing down. I'm like, is that right? Oh, okay. No, I need to work on that. I understand. But just don't take it personally if somebody does that. Just, adjust fire as need be. Or people who need validation. You've met these people before. I know you have. Where they say they're constantly, everything you've done, they've done better. They're called one-uppers. Say, so, you ran 5 miles, they ran 10. Been to the moon, they've been to Mars. So you can never out-top them because they always need somebody to say, you're right, hey, good job. You get a gold star. All right, way to go. They're not getting it at home or wherever. So they're looking to you, or they'll say, man, yesterday was sure crazy. And they're waiting for you to take the bait and you'll be like, why was yesterday crazy? Or you don't say anything and you're still going to hear about it. So either way, you're going to lose. But you know why they do it. So you're not saying, man, I hate this person, always talking to me. They must have been, abused as a child. Everybody wants to play the amateur psychologist. So don't do that. Just don't read into it. Don't take everything at face value. Just fire so you can mitigate as much as possible. So key points to remember: don't assume, don't downplay emotions, and don't use absolute words like never, forever, and always. Do that, then you're applying psychodynamics to its fullest in every capacity of your life. If you have any questions whatsoever, I'd be more than happy to answer them after class or on break. Thank you.
Very nice.